Mit einem lachenden und einem weinenden Auge wird mir eine seltsame Ehre zuteil.
Happy and sad that I'm pleased to announce to this the final talk of this wonderful Congress. This is Sva with the closing event.
Hallo, schönen guten Abend.
Hi and good evening. I'm doing this in German. Tim started this, but the topic we said it's worth makes more sense to do it in German. I'm interested. For whom is this the first Congress? A little less than half. I can't really see it. Who was there in CCH? Lots of people. Who was in CCH all times, at least 4 years ago? Who was at BCC? Really nice. And were there people who were at HACP? Eidelstädter Bürgerhaus? Yeah. Okay, nice. I'm glad that you're here. I'll start with a quote. I'll just read this out. The Chaos Computer Club is a galactic organization of without fast structures.
Diverse education with computers is called hacking as well. And we will try to fight for the right of humans for uncontrolled and free information exchange for every human and all intelligent life forms. Computers are a foundation that can't be banned again. Computers are play and think stuff, and the most important new medium. This is a text with the title "The Chaos Computer Club" is describing itself, and it goes on. For explanation, hundreds of years after print media like books, magazines, and newspapers, media came into being like photo, radio, and TV. The most important new medium is the computer with itself. Information about everything you could think about in this galaxy can be transmitted. Well, I think it's cool that in 84 they already used print media as a word. Before 2 Watt, there was 2 Nix. This was a congress in 78 of the left-wing movement. The Taz came into being there. A few years later, 81, there was this 2 Watt Congress, do something, in which this 2watt.txt got written, and they asked for this meeting of computer freaks. The design guide in the wiki, Gregor says,
the political dimension, it pulls out the political dimension of the CCC in the call to mind. Authoritarianism, fascism, and all these other things ask for
doing something is as valued today in the hacker scene as then, and doing something against political forces that want to destroy freedom of information. We can still all remember when we all had this censorship Ursula thing a few years ago. maybe there were a lot of people who weren't really political before, and maybe not after, and didn't think they were political, and they said, what's this kind of plan? We'd have to explain this a bit. They didn't understand. We have to explain how this works and how to repair this problem they saw. And with this, many people who were non-political woke up and said, to what do something, we have to do something. Even though it was such an absurd topic, taboo, you didn't really want to talk about, but we did, and we were very overwhelmed. A short time ago in India, something like this happened with the Save the Internet campaign, where a lot of people fought, multiple countries of the south, but now in Germany as well, the zero thing. India were very unlucky, and Wikipedia did it as well, and Wikipedia said it's zero.wikipedia.com, and you can have internet without using your data plans. The people there started the Save the Internet campaign, and we all thought, wow, this will be getting hard. Wikipedia is ubiquitous in India, but even there, they managed to explain to people what the problem is, even though Wikipedia was with it, and a normal person would have said, hey, what's going on with this? Net neutrality is not a topic you can just explain like this, but millions of people petitioned and did the small part of the fight and won it, because if you're a technician, you have to stand up, and you don't have to. It's cool, but you don't have to be political. But you can say, now let me explain you something, and then you can think for yourself what the best variant would be.
And a much simpler example. A much simpler example were our election computers, against which we fought 10 years ago, and we had almost won that fight. But election computers, you will remember, are something that can be explained quite easily. Black box computer. It's quite easy to understand that doesn't quite agree with the value of transparency in an election. But you didn't have to explain a lot for that. And the fact was that we received a lot of questions. What's going on here? You, Chaos Computer Club, the future, computers and all that, that's what you've always been telling us, and now we're doing it. We're doing the election, it's all running fantastic. We have the results by 6 o'clock, as soon as polling stations close. You know all this stuff, right? And we said, well, right, do you get it? We know computers, and we tell you that it's not the best idea to use computers here. And we had a quite public, we staged a watch of election computers at the time in Hesse, in the state of Hesse, and we wanted to show that there was nothing to see. You could click the old public press release, and I'm not going to talk about all that, though. What I want to say is to go in there at the time in small groups into these polling stations. We dressed up nicely, had a checklist. We could check the seals of those election computers. And of course, we would have to wait sometimes to be picked up and things like that. And when someone of us would open such a computer, the people just panicked. What are you doing now? What are you doing with that computer? And we then said to ourselves, please, they told us, please, no technical devices in the building at all, within a certain radius even. And we were going, what's the problem? And then we realized they are just panicking that we might be able, just by our pure presence, to manipulate those computers. We explain to these people that there is no over-the-air interface where you would have to open that device, hands-on, all that, but they didn't understand that. And it didn't matter either, because they were just nervous. They were just freaking out. And that was just as if we were magicians, that with our magical powers and our presence at a distance of 10 meters, we could manipulate that computer and the election would then be faked, falsified.
Arthur C. Clarke,
the author who wrote The Space Odyssey 2001, you know that how that had been our motto at the 17C3, which led into the year 2001. He said, every sufficiently progressive technology is undistinguishable from magic. So we are the magicians out there. We can do things that others can't understand. And out there, there's quite a feeling of powerlessness about so many things are happening and happening very fast, and we feel powerless too. More than 10 years ago, we lost the war. We can't do anything anymore. But powerlessness, if it's not us, who else then? If the people out there who are so much more powerless, if not us, who then? And if not now, then when? You can do something.
Wir sind alle voll von Fehlern.
We're all full of mistakes, but we are intelligent enough to feel what is right. And many of us are much too modest and don't believe they can change anything. And some are quite the opposite. Know-it-alls, aren't we all? Arrogant, believing that you understood the world, all of it. And arrogance has the advantage that you overestimate yourself, that you tackle things that other people think they are powerless in. Now, whether you're arrogant or too modest or something else, I don't care. What I think is important is that you become aware of that. And when you become aware what you are and how you are, whether you're modest or arrogant or something else, then act accordingly, because your acts are influenced by that, and you can then steer yourself better. That is cybernetics. So you could make a nice cyber out of that.
Unterschätzt euch, überschätzt.
Underestimate yourself, overestimate yourself, it doesn't matter, but don't let that stop you from doing something that you've really set your eyes upon.
Und wenn ihr das tut und
And when you do that, and when you overburden yourself, say that. Say that you set out to do a plan and that it doesn't work out, but talk with each other and admit to yourselves that something hasn't quite worked out, and that it may just take a small kick to progress further, and that will only work if you talk amongst each other. And when you say, okay, I'm just in front of this huge rock now and I can't go further.
Tim said in the opening speech, on this Congress we can work together. And he also said, we have to do it. He said, take the chance you have, take your anger and put it into something productive and creative or something great. Don't let them tell you that it doesn't work, that you can't do it, that it doesn't work. Don't let them tell you that. Now, 4 days later, I hope that, like Tim asked you, to use the time to do a lot of things in some directions, whichever one is fine. One story I know, and I want to tell it here, where people didn't let others talk to them that they couldn't or shouldn't do it, and it's the youngest hackers and the oldest we have here. The communication of generation between the Geheimorga and the Valholland Foundation. On both websites, you can read a statement. The ones didn't let the others push them away from trying it. And it's hard to say, sorry. Result 1, parts of the Geheimorga have occupied the Valholland Foundation on day 1. Result 2, there was a constructive debate where I quote, noticed that they have the same or similar problems on the CCC. And there's a difference between what we want to do and the feeling of some people. Their problems, many don't even notice. There are different ideas to solve them, but the goals are the same. And that you can only find out if you talk to each other.
Und zwar reden.
Talk, not just write.
So ein bisschen.
It's a bit.
Ich glaube, das ist so ein bisschen.
I think it's a bit like the dirt level in the hackerspaces. Who of you is at home in hackerspaces? Like most of the times, that's not a lot. What? But to what? Do something with that.
Also,
Yeah. So
gut, also die.
good. Everyone who raised their hands, they know what I mean. The dirt level in hackerspaces. I can explain it a bit.
The threshold.
Dirt threshold, yeah. There are differences of the acceptance of dirt. There are some just cleaned up, and there are others said, "Oh, what? That's so unclean here." And there are so different sensibilities. Everyone who just cleaned up said, "Yeah, it's everything's so clean now," and they don't believe, they don't understand, they don't check what the problem the others have. And actually, you say, just act like you wish others would act upon you. But there's a problem. We all wish for different things. Well, luckily, but it would be boring if else. And for all these different things on the Congress, there has to be a space. And I think, yeah, if not here, where else?
Hier ist der Platz.
The place is here, and these kids have these brought these old guys together and went closer to them. There's now a mailing list. There will be a follow-up on other events, like the next one is the Easter hack. But at this rate, I can see that there may be something happening much faster. The first goal they told me was that they wanted to see how big the problem actually was. And in the foundation, you have to say this continuous improvement is our style, seeing what we can do. With the coordination here, it took some time before we had this circle of traffic and this continuous improvement on the fly. In 1986, we started it.
Right, so, Tuvat, do something. It worked, what Tim said. People did work together, and they made progress.
Vor 4 Jahren hat Tim
4 years ago, Tim was standing here too, well, at the CCH then, and did the opening event within this frame, Congress. And he did the opening event. That was our anniversary Congress, the 30th. That's where he did the opening. It was the year where we did not have a motto. It was the year of Snowden, where we were just speechless. Where, on the other hand, for the 30th anniversary, that adulthood threshold, we just were able to say no comment. What are we supposed to say? We just could say, told you so. But then that is that arrogance again, which is kind of stupid too. So we just somehow said, well, we won't have a motto because we're speechless. And in his opening speech, he suggested that we could make a new internet. That would be a task. He said,
the hackers formed the net based on their core principles.
The hackers formed the net based on their core principles, trust and friendship. Now it all seems so broken and useless.
What do we need to do now?
What do we need to do now?
We have to
reinvent the net. We have to rethink the net. This time we all said, do something. And we just nicely wrote onto our nicely existing or non-existing list what all we could do. Of course, rewrite the internet, that would be great. What we are doing at the time is mostly fighting symptoms. We will have to carry the internet technology into the 21st century and not use the protocols from the 1970s. We're struggling with these symptoms everywhere. We are struggling with these symptoms. We're always reacting. And the problems keep coming at us faster and faster, and we are desperately trying to sometimes act ourselves rather than just react. And in general, I believe that we should go to the roots much more and not waste so much time by fighting symptoms and invest some time to fight the root causes so that the problems will not reappear all the time just like zombies. But, well, that's an idea, such as rewriting the internet just like that and redo all those protocols. It's not something you can just do over one weekend. I do know that. But there are tens of thousands of things that you can do. You can take an hour and just put up a Freifunk router, a mesh network. As you leave, ask someone who you do not know what project they're working on, and if with your expertise you could help out for a few hours. You could simply take half a day's time and go into a school and explain the internet to these people. If you've listened to Charles Stross, you may remember the kids that grow up today. For them, internet and all that are just a colorful, flashing board where you can do all kinds of things. And he gave us a whole list of examples of topics that we may have to deal with or could deal with. Listen to that. It's quite recommended. So you can take on big issues, but just do small things just like that. And what I find important, it doesn't have to be save the world business all the time. It doesn't always have to be with children. Not everyone is good with that. You can just do something, hack something quite absurd. It doesn't really matter what. It's just as important. Even if there is no concrete relevance that you can see immediately, but if that's what you like to do, and if there's something that you discover there, that is great. And you can just do that. So do something, tu wat. It doesn't always have to be for a good cause?
Naja,
Well,
ich könnte euch jetzt noch 1000 Sachen sagen.
I could list thousands of things that you could do, but I'll leave it because now after Congress you'll have your lists full up anyway, up to your ears. So you could, you should. So have fun carrying that home with you and unpack all that, please, all that baggage.
Aber ja, also eins noch,
But yeah, just one more thing. If you ever wonder,
euer müsste man mal Gepäck
as you unpack your should-do baggage, what you should now actually do and you can't decide, I'd like to remind you, less symptom fighting, more root causes, please.
Ach so, und
Oh, yes. And I said just one more thing, but there's another coming. Hackerspaces, obviously, there is a further need in the room here. So build hackerspaces, or hackspaces, build events.
zusammenhalten sonst.
We have to stick together because otherwise it just won't work.
Also wir müssen zusammenhalten.
We have to stick together and still not forget that as Discordians, and we have to distinguish Discordians from magicians and things like that. And building events, that is a thing I was supposed to talk about. We did build quite an incredible thing here. Tuvat do something, not just the motto here, but also the foundation of the whole event.
Ohne all die Leute,
Without all the people that
irgendwas hinterm Jahr mal
at some point of the year just pulled up their sleeves, and often it's not through the year, and it's more like, oops, summer is over, it's raining, it's getting colder. We should perhaps do something about that Congress. Without all these people, that whole thing here would not exist.
manche mag das
For some of you, maybe that is very old news, which is cool. So many of you are here and have been here for a long, long time, but still I would like to shortly explain this,
wie das eigentlich so funktioniert.
the way it works.
Den ersten Kongress,
The first Congress in 1984, that was just a few hundred people in the Eidelstädter Bürgerhaus in Hamburg. Then it was more than 1,000 at HackP. Then moving to the BCC in Berlin, it was 3,000 or something.
wie der Kongress eigentlich funktioniert.
And the way the Congress actually works is something that probably many of us can't quite comprehend. There is no comparable event in the whole world, I think, where almost everything is done voluntarily. And not just that we do it all voluntarily, we actually pay for our own costs. We pay for our own supplies. And even when there isn't, when it isn't a handful of people anymore, but the numbers keep rising and have quintupled since the times of the BCC, it's still the same way. So I'll tell you, we were quite afraid when we moved out of the BCC. We were just so afraid that it wouldn't work.
Wir haben aufs Neue bewiesen,
And again, we proved that it does work if only enough people say, I will do something, and say, I'll take care of something.
wir sagen nicht,
And we won't say,
wir sagen nicht, wir
we
schaffen
won't
das,
say,
wir sagen, wir
we'll get this done. We say, we'll get it done, we'll do it.
Also zum 29.3. sind
So, for the 29th Congress, we moved to Hamburg, even though we were so scared, and then we were double the amount of people, and it worked.
also obwohl wir auch, als wir dann in Hamburg waren,
Although, as we came to Hamburg, which we did about a week before the end, surely we all thought, oh God, how on earth will we get this solved now? But,
immer so nach
well, actually, about 20 minutes, half an hour into the event, there was this
zusammen, irgendein Nerd hat wieder irgendwas
things just came together. Some nerd had this idea and it worked, and problems suddenly were gone.
Wir haben auch
So
Hamburg
in Hamburg, we had to build new teams too. Suddenly we had science teams because the house, we hadn't quite understood the house as we walked through it. And we then thought, well, when the people come, people will get lost. And that was the running gag, wasn't it, at the time, or every time at the CCH? If you didn't get lost, you hadn't really been there. And then suddenly we had all this space, and we needed the team that took care of projects that would use this space and that would want to build something in that space. And as we were that huge number of people, there were new ideas that formed that weren't completely linked or necessarily linked with the whole thing. The translators team came about, who had been there in the BCC, spontaneously translating things. I remember that the Nord News Show was always spontaneously translated, but now at this, they do everything into English or German. Meanwhile, there are 30% of talks that get translated into French, 23% into Spanish, and there are some people that intend within the next few weeks to translate into Mandarin everything that has some kind of relation to China. And then the subtitle team founded itself. They subtitle everything. Well, keep with the applause. We didn't have that much time. We have been overrunning anyway. So we'll have one huge applause in the end, all right? Afterwards, please. So, in any case, subtitles were added. The kids space formed. Who every year, use that hand wave. That's your way. That's the applause. The kids space built the playground that we all enjoy. Then at the CCH, we did the bars ourselves, so we need the bar operations team. And teardown of the 29C3 was when we noticed quite painfully that in the future we might need a logistics operations center, which we now have since the 30th Congress. Now, this is a team for whom the Congress isn't over for a long time, so please help us with teardown, not just today, but gladly stay on until after New Year's Eve. We'll give you all the contact data. We'll be here for a few more days yet. And I did say we all work here voluntarily and unpaid, and the people that work for the Congress full-time, even they pay their tickets and pay for their supplies. At TCH, though, we realized that, well, it does make sense that we should give the people that do all the help here something, a hot meal. And we did realize that it does make sense to invite people that know how to do that stuff. And since then, we have a kitchen crew that does not come from chaos, but from the family, and who have been cooking for us quite wonderfully. And it was necessary because, after all, us who built that Congress, well, it used to be a few days. We will start at the 25th at the BCC. Now we are here for about 3 weeks. And we do quite a lot of hard physical work, too. So even there, we somewhat reached our limits, and we invited artisans that designed the Congress in a way that the colorless nerds that we are, colorless as we are, we wouldn't have managed that, all the stages, the lights, the music, and the arts. I don't know how many of you actually know that. We actually have musicians and DJs that play here, and who are so high profile sometimes that they play under a pseudonym because they enjoy being here and they don't want to have a huge crowd. And after all those years, pretty soon you will be able to give it that applause, all right? So please, some more patience, a bit more patience. After all the years working together with those non-nerd groups, I'm not going to say non-hacker groups because, well, they are quite cool hackers, those artists. So with these non-nerd groups, I can say, well, they're quite at it. They so enjoy being here. They're fascinated by our approach, by the respectful way that we deal with things. That's the first thing we're here, and the creativity that we have, how we can find a solution for all the absurdest problems, an even more absurd solution, that keeps surprising these people. And normally at this point, we would say thanks to so many people, and we would like to mention the CCL. This was the first time they were quite brave and opened themselves. Thanks to the CCL. Please do not clap yet, because the thank you that has to be here so strongly to the angels, to the teams, to the operation centers. But now I would like to have this resounding applause to the kitchen, for the craftspeople, the artists, and now we should all say thank you to all of them.
Ich bin aber
The translation of what is going on outside is.
Fine, but I'm not through yet.
Also, es tut mir leid.
So sorry, the boys have taken too long again. You always have to calculate it in, but you can have another applause later. I need another 10 minutes, so please some patience. Thanks to all of you as well. All of you. And I know it's hard to go home now. You don't have to. You can help with tear down. And you don't have to if you have to go home. Many people have to because of the weird season and the Hackerian duties. I have to tell you that there are a lot of events all over the world with similar concept that do it this as well. Go there and help them, network with them, and to what? Let's do something. We have this weird calendar problem. If someone is interested in that, please contact us. I'm trying to catch some events, but I'm not that greatly prepared. You see no slides. But now I had the most terrifying weapon of the 0 years, pets.ccc.de. There's collections of all the events of the CCC, and pets.ccc.de/events has maybe some events worldwide. You can help start it the week after next week. Maybe I will write something as well. There are a lot of events in Europe and the US, but there's still a lot of air to go up, and I'd say Vogt, take this concept and paste it anywhere where you think this would be pretty cool to have it. And I'll tell you, and I know what I'm talking about because I did it in a pretty weird environment. This works. You can do it. And if the base of the people coming there are more or less free and open culture, it doesn't matter which culture and environment is around it. Everyone is just doing a bit, and if everyone does a little bit, in the end you have a whole big piece. And yeah, let's not others tell you don't let others tell you that these things are absurd, because the special thing with these events are the people who get there. We're a weird bunch, and we have a high quota of people who are able to really think with us, and you can do a lot with that, and you don't have to forget it. And I don't want to pat my own shoulder, but to tell you that to take this 2 watt home and just do things like project like I described before, bigger or smaller, or an event or a hack space where you make a place where people can work with each other, and not only that, but only discuss, love each other, learn to know each other, learn to trust each other, and then think that the fights we still have to fight, we can only do if you know each other and accept each other and trust each other. Acceptance is one of the most said things. People said they find great at the Congress. You can just be how you are. You are accepted here as you are. This is what we believe. And I briefly talked about that. Maybe someone might sense something different, so we might have to fix it so it's that way for everyone. But acceptance and the respect for each other is one of the things we on this floor all this brings us together. In the CCH, I asked some people who worked there how it is for them working with us chaotic people, and the answer was getting better every year, and most of them said they would love they love the Congress and are happy for the Congress every year because it's just so nice, so relaxing, and so interesting as well. And at least 2 CCH people were here. I think it says a lot. And they said the people are so peaceful, so easy to care for. Had some this easiness. Someone out there from the Leipzig Messe team said the exact same word. And in the beginning, the CCH people said was they didn't quite get why we would clean ourselves and would do everything ourselves and wouldn't shy away from any work and just react when something didn't work. Just do what? Yeah, just do something and it works. And one person said the discipline in building a queue was really great. It says so much about the people here, and we just can do it. Everyone is taking care for each other, and there is nobody who wants some extra things. This is what someone else said. This is such a different kind of togetherness, where there isn't someone who said, I'm this person that I want to have this and that. But there are people who say, sorry, could we maybe have this another way? And I talked with a worker here at Congress who said he's a lot of at festivals a lot and stuff. There are no deals here. If you need something from someone, you just get it. And you don't want anything back, but you just work together. And that's this external view should just make us want to do more things. Just do what. Don't forget you can fail. Also others can fail. Just don't scream at them that much, and don't be so arrogant. Just let people do their own errors as well.
Und sowieso.
And also don't forget, you can. No, sorry. To do something together means you're close to each other. We're a family. We are having disputes as well, and just let us have disputes, because that's good as well. Just to argue sometimes, but don't argue just all the time, because it needs energy and nerves. We need someplace else, and let's discuss face to face, because that really rocks. And let's not argue as much in text, because you just don't argue as much to the new year in text media. Just maybe you can agree to disagree, and then just say, let's agree to disagree.
And then move on, do something. Let's do something directly, instead of getting quite tangled in endless debates that takes away all our agency, and that's the last thing we need. And the slide that just disappeared is a quote from a famous Bavarian comedian: "We would have liked to want, but we did not dare to be allowed." And that's it from me.